This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness, the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties, and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove, wishing in gladness and in safety. May all beings be happy, whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born. May all beings be happy. Let none deceive another, or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another, even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness. One should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding. By not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into this world. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Greetings to everyone, and Marlene has asked me to introduce myself. But first, just thank you so much, Catherine. That was just beautiful, beautiful chanting and beautiful reminder. And while I'm in the thank you zone, to everyone who makes this happen, which I know is Pinder, Bob and Marlene and Chris, and I don't know who else, but just a beautiful thing to have this Sangha and to have a chance to be together. And so, yeah, gratitude for all of that. As for introducing myself, I'm a writer. I used to write books for teenagers, but now I'm writing more essays that are Buddhist, a bit personal growth, a bit memoir, and a bit funny. That's my thing. And we're sort of working tonight, like we did last time, out of this book, A Year of Loving Kindness to Myself and Other Essays. And yeah, so I'll just talk for a little wee bit and then we'll do our sit together. So the thing about loving kindness is that it's not a fixed position. It's a dance. This is what I think. It's a complete dance with your own life and your own practice and your own, what will be involved is your own history, family history, your spiritual history, whether you felt loved as a child. There'll be just many, many things that feed into loving kindness to oneself. And it's not a fixed position. For example, on a particular day, loving kindness to yourself might be to totally relax and eat some chocolate and watch a funny show. And at another time, loving kindness to yourself might be to stop eating chocolate, stop watching rubbish on TV, and go for a walk or do some sitting. And only you will know, oh, what's the best remedy? What is the best loving kindness? What would that be to myself? It's also quite interesting, I think, to look at how we are not lovingly kind to ourselves. And that would also differ amongst us. It would be your own Zen koan, if you like. So for myself, some examples might be hurrying, busily hurrying to get everything done at all times, not listening to the body and going, actually, you could rest now. You could actually just rest now, and some of those things could be tomorrow. So that would be loving kindness. And also to know when to do for others and when to do for oneself. So there'll be some times where one's loving kindness practice might be, I'm going to go and visit someone in hospital. I'm going to ring a friend who I know is low. I'm going to, take some soup to my neighbour who's feeling peaky. And at other times, loving kindness might be to shut the door and go, let me look after me today, and to make some soup and eat it. So yeah, it's a dance of loving kindness that we do. And I think that we wouldn't be really here tonight together if we didn't have some sense that part of loving kindness would be to have a spiritual practice and to have a meditation practice. So I'm just going to read you a little bit out of this book about sitting, and then we will do some. And those of you who were here last time, this goes in months. So this was in the month of, oh no, it wasn't. It was after the months, just come some essays. And this essay is called On Sitting Quietly. Just a little bit near the end. Oh no, 2 bits. It is not only for ourselves that we sit. When we attend to our own life with delicacy and care, there is positive benefit for those around us and the wider community. If we stay present in difficult conditions, if we can listen deeply and do our quiet best in every situation, we will indeed shine one corner, as Suzuki Roshi said. Meditation does not have to be a scary, difficult, or ambitious project. And this is for people who maybe have never sat. It says sit for 5 minutes. We're going to sit for 20 minutes. Take a relaxed, upright posture and sit. Focus on the breath, bodily sensations, or your entire experience. Breathing, sounds, longing, restless mind, sleepy mind, whatever naturally arises. There's nothing more fancy or more complicated about it than that. Just sitting means just that. No need to transform or improve your experience. Let everything be as it is, relaxing into a gentle, allowing presence. Sitting brings us into our lives, plain and simple, so that we know things as they are, taste their flavor, calmly abiding with changing conditions. Sitting helps us live fully and respond fully in the most appropriate way, not endlessly seeking pleasure nor hiding from suffering. Take pleasure in the breath. Let whatever arises be all right by you. Everything else will take care of itself. So we'll sit together for a bit. This is ding, 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 beginning. And yeah, a comfortable posture, alert. Like it's good to have a straight spine and be comfortable. Feet on the ground if you're sitting on a chair, or firmly on your bum bones if you're sitting in a zazen position. And just a few really big breaths are good to begin. We come into the body, and we can start at the head and move down and just see what's going on and relax. You'll find that you might be tense in the jaw or tense in the shoulders or the tummy. Funnily enough, the thighs are often tense, or the hands, and just gently starting at the top of your head and coming down, relaxing the eye muscles. Tara Brach suggested a little quiet smile, even just in the corner of your mouth. And coming down, even the clavicle can be a smile. And softening into the shoulders. Softening the arms and the hands. Noticing any sensation in the hands. There might be heat, tingling, something going on in the hands. And coming into the chest and the heart area. And just noticing there might be warmth, there might be tension, there might be softness. Softening the belly. Down into the legs, relaxing right down into the feet. Maybe there's pressure in the feet or some sensations there to know. And then we can notice the body as a whole body, like a mountain, like a quiet, solid mountain. And the breath. And the breath is okay as it is. It might be soft, it might be ragged, it might be long or slow or very subtle, just being in the mountain of the body and letting the breath come and the breath go. We can expand our awareness to the sounds. There may be a clock, there may be my voice, there may be cars or a train or a bird, little rumblings of a house. And we can take our awareness into the spaciousness of the room and the spaciousness beyond that. And when we come back into the body and the breath, we can notice also our mood. Maybe quiet, maybe restless, maybe sad, maybe deeply contented. And whatever we feel for our mood, we can be very kind. We can be, it's okay. Sometimes we notice a connection between the body and the mood. If we're in a worried frame of mind, we might notice tension in the jaw or the belly, and we can relax that. Just put real arms of kindness, kind arms around whatever's going on. And the same with our thinking. Unless you're fully enlightened arahant, you might have a thought or two while you're sitting. And it's just to notice, interesting, planning or remembering, or what I'm having for dinner, or whatever the thought might be. There it is, a thought. Just another visitor, just another friend. Probably good not to get completely entangled in it for the next quarter of an hour. Just see it as lightly as a sound or a body sensation. Thought. So we sit with whatever arises, which in Zen is called shikantaza, just sitting. And we allow all those things, the body, the breath, the sounds, the spaciousness, the thinking. And if you feel you're getting really lost at any point, come back to whatever's the most grounding for you, which might be your feet, or the sensation of your bottom sitting, or it might be the sounds, or it might be your breath, or the body mountain. Just come back if you feel lost. Come back to whatever's the most grounding and clear for you. So just a few more minutes of that meditation, and we just bring our interest and awareness back into our heart area and the breath. And we just do that little thing that we did last time at the beginning of, you just quietly say to yourself, what if there was absolutely nothing wrong? What if everything was good and all right? And there was nothing wrong with me either. And I was good and all right. And all was well, all was well. And that feeling of goodness and kindness and self-acceptance and ease and sweet tasting contentment is a beautiful thing to have in our heart and to take out into the world with us. So as we close this guided meditation, I'm just going to read you a short poem. It begins my book. Rajna. All your pretty dresses won't save you. You can't wriggle out of it. Suffering of this floating world will continue to present itself. Just keep on being the Buddha, white flowers in your open arms. Just keep on being the Buddha, white flowers in your open arms. Ding, 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 ding. I realize now that I forgot to do the other half of my introduction of myself, which was my Buddhist history. So just in very brief, I became Buddhist when I was about 25 or 26, living in Sydney, living a fairly wild life. And I went to a 10-day retreat at Wat Buddha Dharma, a Buddhist Theravadan forest community, lay community, about 3 hours from Sydney, in a very isolated property. Had no idea what I got myself into, but I knew that I'd really met something that was just meant everything to me. It made perfect sense. It hit me like, this is true goodness. And the Buddha knew what he was talking about, and it landed very well because I'd had quite a traumatic childhood and various things. So I was well ready to face the fact of human suffering and what one might do about that. And I ended up marrying and living at Wat Buddha Dharma and having a son and helping to run retreats. And we were a lay community. And so we ran retreats. We were a community together, and we looked after Phra, Khantipalo and Ayya Khema and visiting Sangha. And then when we came to Perth, was pretty involved with the Buddhist Society, and then also became very moved by, and I can't think of the words, I became a Zen student with the Zen group of WA, and Ross Bollitter was my main teacher, and I still fully support that group. Ross Bollitter is no longer the teacher. There's another Roshi. And then I've sort of like two practices for the last forever, probably. I've sat insight retreats with the Perth Insight Meditation Group, and my main teacher is Alexis Santos, who's been to Perth once and is coming to Perth again, and he was a monk in Burma with Sayadaw U Tejaniya. And I mentioned last week that practice, which is I found it a very important practice and very useful to me. It's a 24/7 practice, and the attention is not on the object, like the breath, or it is on the mind, the consciousness. So you're noticing the attitude of the mind and the awareness, what Jack Cornfield calls to have loving awareness all the time. So that's really where you're paying attention to. And in an ordinary day, many wonderful things will happen, and probably a few dreadful ones too. And that's not really the main point. The main point is, what is the attitude of my mind? Is it calm? Is it agitated? And then even is it as though in levels above that, can I have loving awareness? Can I have loving awareness too? Let's say the bus didn't come and I'm upset. then the loving awareness is where the mind can always go. And so that's the sort of practice that I do, and it's really no different to Zen practice or what Ajahn Brahm would teach or anything else in a way. So I'm going to do what I did last time and just read you some things that I have found useful in my own practice and maybe a few bits out of the book. So the main thing about loving kindness is that we're not very good at it, I don't think, and we can't give it to the whole universe and our family and the rest of the world and the community and the person who was rude to us at the shop if we can't do it for ourselves. And so this is like a deep practice, right? Everyone must be their own physician. That's what a man in a pool at Bali told me that. It's a quote from someone really famous, like Socrates, probably not Socrates. Everyone must be their own physician. But I've translated that to everyone must be their own Dharma teacher, because we can study with this venerable person and listen to that amazing talk, and these are beautiful and one must do it. But really, what do they say? You can sit at the foot of the Buddha, but you have to do the practice. A Chinese proverb, teachers open the door, but you must enter by yourself. Teachers open the door, but you must enter by yourself. So our daily task is, what is my Dharma practice and how is my loving kindness? And am I making, wholesome choices for myself? And am I kind to myself at all times? Be where you are and be who you are. That's how you cheer yourself up. Cultivate confidence in your own worthiness. You are not guilty of some fundamental mistake. I can never pronounce it. Chogyam Trungpa said that. And various teachers have said it in different ways. The Zen teacher Susan Murphy says, you're not guilty of your feelings. And many of us feel like, oh, I shouldn't be feeling like that, or why do I still feel like this? These are feelings. It's just nature. They come and they go. Everyone has anger. Everyone has shame. Everyone has all of the feelings. And they're okay. The right attitude is accepting, observing, and learning from your experience, just as it is. That's Sayadaw U Tejaniya. So he really emphasizes, really, it doesn't matter whether you're having a pleasant feeling or an unpleasant feeling. It doesn't matter whether you're having a difficult circumstance or a very wonderful circumstance. The right attitude is accepting, observing, and learning from your experience, just as it is. Be at ease with whatever is happening, pleasant or unpleasant, in a relaxed and alert way. And Sayadaw also really emphasizes the relaxed part. Like the very first thing you should do when you sit down on your cushion is relax. In Zen, they say, well, I learned it in Zen, soften body and mind, but just relax. Like, what is the problem? You're alive and you're sitting. And remember I said last time about as if pouring honey on yourself, like to really have that soft energy, that relaxed energy. Thich Nhat Hanh put it like this: if we know the practice of non-practice, we don't have to strive or fight. We simply allow our mind and body to heal. Don't try anything. Allow yourself to relax, to release all the tension in your body and release all the worries and the fear in your mind. It's not a bad prescription, is it? To release all the worries and fears in your mind. And one thing I've realized is we have some very strong habits. I don't know what your strong habits are, but my strong habits would be thinking the worst of myself, thinking things are going to go badly wrong, worrying, what Anne Lamott calls mind effing everything to death. Like, these are bad habits. You don't have to call it a defilement necessarily, but you can say to yourself, is this a useful, constructive, wholesome habit? No. Okay, I'm doing that again. Okay, don't do it. Don't do it so often. Let go of it now. You've started doing that again. Then you will be no longer at war with yourself. Whatever is happening, say, that is just the way it is right now. And this is a teacher called Anne Cushman. My practice is teaching me to embrace imperfection. to have compassion for all the things that haven't turned out as I planned in my body and in my life, for the way things keep falling apart and breaking down. It's less about fixing things and more about being present, for learning to be present for exactly what is. I'm going to read that one again because I just think it's so potent and wonderful. My practice is teaching me to embrace imperfection, to have compassion for all the things that haven't turned out as I planned in my body and in my life, for the way things keep falling apart and breaking down. It's less about fixing things and more about learning to be present for exactly what is. This is like a terrible thing to tell you and silly really, but today I tried on a lovely floral Laura Ashley dress in an op shop. I didn't buy it, but it was a little bit too short. Those of you who know me know that my legs are not my best feature. I have nice features, but the girls in our family have chunky legs. Anyway, that's why I didn't buy the dress. It wasn't that flattering. But right at the bottom, where I wish there'd been a bit more dress and a bit more leg, I got a really bad varicose vein, and it was really hard to go, yep, you're 71 and you've done a lot of cooking for retreats and you've done a lot of standing on concrete floors and you've got a big varicose vein and you don't like it much, but like, could I be gentle and kind to that and just buy a dress that covered it up more? I think that'd be my option. But it's interesting how we can be very cross about our body, whether we're freckly or bald or whatever you've got going on that you wish you didn't. Okay. Now, there's a lovely teacher called Diana Winston, and she's into the natural awareness as her sort of thing. She's got a book, and this is just a bit poetic. Finding a new address. Don't take up residence on Anxiety Street, Depression Avenue, Comparison Boulevard, or Anger Muse. I recommend moving to Peaceful Street, Equanimity Lane, or Joy Avenue. And when we live on Natural Awareness Boulevard, we have the capacity to handle whatever life brings us, because our baseline is not neurosis, but luminous awareness. And that's like one of the things I find really helps me in my practice, and I'm going to get to a few more of them at the end of the quotes, is creativity. So if you're feeling stuck or dull or, okay, the Buddha told me there was all this suffering and I don't even want to be here with all this suffering, and you're in like a grumpy zone, what can help shift that energy? Because it's a long, sad life if that's the way you feel all the time, that you're only seeing the suffering and your own personal pain and the wars and the tragedies and the fact that there are now microplastics in our brains. Like, there's a lot of not very cheerful stuff out there, and if we put the focus on that, it can be a downer. So to lift our own spirits and to lift our own heart and to lift our own energy so that we can be what, I think it's Philip Larkin, it might not be Philip Larkin, I've got the wrong poet. Anyway, be an affirming flame, to be an affirming flame in the world. That's what we're hoping to do. So creativity, anything that makes you feel creative, I think is a good positive thing. So just like tomorrow, if you felt like it, you could write yourself down some new addresses. You can go, my main bad addresses are Worry Avenue, da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da, and what I would prefer would be peaceful, equanimity, da-da, and just, it's a creative tool to get out your colored pencils or to get out your pen, anything that helps you feel creative. And it might be flower arranging, it might be cooking, it might be gardening, it might be doing things with little children, it might be sewing, it might be knitting, the things that make you feel happier to be alive. And they're an expression of your Buddha nature. I believe that. And it's often like, if you think of mandalas or Zen calligraphy or Zen painting or any of the art forms, the tea ceremony, they're not separate. Your spiritual life and your creativity and your making these things manifest in the world, nothing separate. So getting back to the cheerfulness, Josh Corder, who's a teacher I really like, he's a an interesting looking guy. He's absolutely covered in tattoos. From his bald head, I haven't really seen the rest of his body, but if you see him online, you'll see that he did apparently, as he says, did have alcohol and addiction issues. And then he's been clean and sober for many, many years. And he's a Buddhist teacher in Brooklyn. He's also a psychotherapist. And when I see him do his sort of things in Brooklyn, it's fairly obvious that a lot of the people he works with and encourages are recovering addicts and people who've had addiction issues. But because he's a psychologist as well, he really brings in working with our own feelings and our own stuff, I'll call it. Greet and observe your most uncomfortable and inconvenient feelings with unconditional friendliness. And I love the way he put that, your inconvenient feelings, because it's all very well to have loving kindness to like all the good stuff, right? That's easy. Our dear little granddaughter or our darling friend or, our lovely cat or dog or whatever. These things are easy to love. But what about our deepest, darkest, most unpalatable feelings that really we wish we had got rid of many, many years ago? Be excessively gentle with yourself. Make a conscious effort to include the positive. And this one's for Gloria, because we talked about this last week. The answers to our problems can be found in our own minds. We must find a still point that is not dependent on anything for our happiness. The answers to our problems can be found in our own minds. We must find a still point that is not dependent on anything for our happiness. So rainy day, sunny day, hot weather, cold weather. How is the mind? How's our equanimity? How's our sense of steadiness in and amongst all? We just have to get up every day and cultivate a joyous spirit, fresh. If we practice correctly, life will always be new and interesting. There will always be more to see. That's Sayadaw U Tejaniya. There will always be more to see. And Rosbolita Roshi, it's never just business as usual. So you might think, oh yeah, I've driven down the street before. No, you've never had this moment before. And also, life is short. It's the just now moment. We do not know. We do not know how long we've got. So to have some awe and to have some wonder and to make every moment like a fresh moment. May your experience of both good and bad events be open, spacious, and relaxed. You are not trying to make things work out the way you want. Instead, know what is happening as it is happening. This is Tejaniya now. Receive the situation, the feelings, the mind state with a relaxed interest. Is the mind aware? What is being known? And you can explore how it feels, what your thoughts are, what your emotions are. There's many, many ways you can taste the moment. What is my attitude? Liking, disliking. And now we can't go any further without having something from Deepa Ma, one of apparently the most amazing teachers and an enlightened woman who was a lay woman and who'd had terrible tragedies. And he basically, what do we say, went on through to the other side. Relate to emotions selflessly. When you feel happy, don't get involved with the happiness. When you feel sad, don't get involved with the sadness. Just be aware of them. Let come, let go, let thoughts and feelings be, but don't push away and don't follow. Accept, recognize as if an old friend. Hello, my shame, my anger, my jealousy. Recognize and let it untangle itself. Nothing to lose, nothing to gain, nothing to fear. So I said I'd tell you just a few more things that I find helpful in my own practice, and creativity is definitely one of them. And walking is another one, which for me is an absolute like medicine. And if any of you are interested and you do listening to Dharma talks online, I really like Audio Dharma. And it's the site of Gil Fronsdale in America, Audio Dharma, Gil Fronsdale. And he also, interestingly, was a Zen student, lived at Tessahara and has a dual practice. He's an insight teacher, and I'd say he's still a Zen teacher. I don't know how he defines himself, but he's got many, many years of practice in both traditions. And this recent talk, which he gave on Audio Dharma, he's just been on some kind of a big experience in the bush in California. I'm pretty sure it was in California where he lives, with Dharma teachers who want to use like being in the bush as a practice, and they want to take people into the bush and do Dharma retreats, you know, in nature. So he'd just been doing that, and he was all very excited about it. And the talk he gave was called Earthing, might be called Walking or Earthing the Walk or something. And he just tells a lot about being in the bush and lots of the things they did there. But he was just very, very encouraging about making walking a practice. And the thing that I took, you know, how you often go, oh, that was my takeaway, being like carrying it around like a little jewel for days. Keep mind and body in the same place. So when you're walking, you just can say to yourself a lot of the time, is my mind here too? Because you can be walking and planning next Tuesday and resenting last Friday and worrying about what happened when you were 3 and making a shopping list, and your mind is nowhere near your body. So when you are walking, just to be there in the body, mind where the body is. And you can do it in your own way, like in Zen, between our fairly short compared to some traditions. Some traditions have a 40-minute sit, and Zen, the rounds, I think 22 minutes or 25 minutes. But in between, we do kinhin, which is arms in a position like this. Don't know if you can see me, but we walk very, very slowly around the room, and it's very good for the body to relax, and also to just, it's very slow. It's also very lovely just to create a wonderful sense of community when you walk around the hall or the dojo with those people and with whom you are sitting. But yeah, that's one, like what I'm trying to say here. There are many sorts of formal Buddhist practice that involve walking. So Thich Nhat Hanh is, in some ways, his whole practice was walking, being with the foot and being with the breath. And that he has gathas that you can say, when I walk, my mind will wander. You know, with each breath, the mind will wander. Something, when I walk, the mind will wander. With each breath, the mind returns. Something, something, something. I've forgotten the next bit. With my feet, I touch the earth. So just as you're walking, it's a four stanza gata that you can say, or as those of you who do insight retreats know, there can be an hour walking, an hour sitting, an hour walking, and there are various sorts of walking practices. They're very slow, lifting, moving, placing. But then there's also just walking back and forth. And yeah, I can't recommend it enough. It's, for me, it's been just an absolute, if ever I'm agitated or just not really in the zone or whatever, I go walking. And I'm lucky enough to live by a lake, so that's good. Just keeping an eye on the time here. Okay, good. I'm just going to read you a bit out of the book. It happens to have a chapter in it called On Walking. What a coincidence. Walking is soul medicine. It is good for your body too. It is air and street and foot and flower and garden and stride. It is amble, shamble, shuffle, trudge, skip, meander, wander. Walking is a time when ideas arrive, lungs breathe, and if you're lucky, your troubles are left behind. It is one of the many things we take for granted until we can no longer do it. Walking is a way to enter the day, the world. It is a way to escape yourself, to find yourself, to discover that, as Jack Kerouac said, there is nowhere to go but everywhere. And as Stephen Wright noted, everywhere is within walking distance if you have the time. I've walked through tropical scented hotel gardens in Bali, on lonely beaches in New Zealand, along the bustling sidewalks of New York. On a hillside near Firenze, I wandered down a sunlit alley and came across a plaque above a modest doorway saying, Galileo was born here. I've walked in school shoes, bare feet, ancient sneakers, red sandals, and purple suede boots. Once upon a time, I walked away from my old life in my falling to bits shoes. There are still a few places my feet would like to go. I'm skipping a bit there. Such a simple and good thing to do. Hippocrates was right. Walking is indeed the best medicine. Walking meditation is another lovely thing, a gentle, calming practice, as easy as staying current. Thank you, Glenn Wallace, Zen teacher, staying current, and staying in your feet as you walk from your car to the supermarket instead of getting lost in anxious thinking. Vietnamese Zen monk Thich Nhat Hanh teaches the practice of walking meditation and suggests we walk mindfully as if our feet are kissing the earth. Walking with a child is a treat. I love walking with my granddaughter in the park beside her house. Together we have walked as fairies, mermaids, babies, rabbits. Sometimes I just need to hold hands, she once said, and so we did. Walking alone is a fine thing, so is walking with a dog, or with other people, children, and various dogs. Walking is uncomplicated. It is traveling magic. One foot in front of the other, enjoying every step. So something else which I think is really important to me in my own practice, and which no doubt many of you might agree with me, is what it can be called gratitude or appreciation. So going back to what I said before, we do take things for granted. We get up in the morning and we go, oh, my leg's a bit sore. We don't go, what a goddamn miracle. I'm still alive. Like, to be alive, we forget this. It's an absolute miracle that these atoms have come together in this particular form, in this particular you, for this particular now. And here we are. And then at a certain point, we are no longer. It's a complete miracle. And we don't operate on that level, do we? We just go, oh, running out of tea, better go to the, like going through the trudge. So appreciating our lives, very, very, very important. Now I've got a little piece in here, which now I can't find it. Oh yeah. So it's just about having wonder and awe. And in Zen, it's like called beginner's mind. Like, what's going on? It's like an attitude. It's like, ooh, excitement, It doesn't have to be excitement, obviously. It could be quiet, but it can be just an awe and a wonder and taking nothing for granted. So again, a bit more from here. This is the chapter September on wonder. Then the phrase is, may I appreciate this precious life. And I'm writing, I have blah, blah, blah. I have misplaced my sense of wonder lately. I seem to be addicted to my own negative thinking, like Eeyore with his usual gloomy spin. All is not lost. Along with other beneficial mind states, such as gratitude, generosity, and compassion, wonder can be cultivated. I'm going to repeat myself now. Please forgive. I just said this, but I'm going to also read it. First up, when you think about it, the fact that these particular atoms came together in this particular order so that we can be alive is a total miracle. It should not be taken for granted, yet we do. How often we trudge through our days, forgetting to bow down to the marvel of our own existence within the wider miracle, with a sense of please and thank you. I'm making daily effort to find life less of an effort and to cultivate wonder, for surely loving kindness to myself requires loving my life and enjoying it while I can. All too soon, the king and the pawn will end up in the same box, as the Italian proverb reminds us. Wondering involves a sense of inquiry. Life is an experiment. Living with an open-minded curiosity gives life a zesty, merry flavor. When in doubt, lean towards awesome. There will still be trouble, strife, crazy people who do terrifying things. There will still be corrupt politicians and dog shit days, but focusing on these things is not the only game in town. If we walk in beauty, taking delight in the mystery rather than being ground down by the shadowy and the difficult, this outlook becomes a habit of mind. You don't have to look far to find the strange amazingness of people in life when you set forth with eyes of wow. Let us appreciate and be dazzled by the richness of our everyday existence. Nana Bridgie, I've got a wiggly tooth. My granddaughter runs towards me, joyous with the thrill of it. I've never seen a happier child. Another day, she's telling me about a boy in her class at school who likes to play at fighting zombies. I'm in the other room drying the dishes and not quite listening properly, but I sense it's troubling her. Zombies aren't real, I say encouragingly. What else isn't real? Are unicorns real? I love these conversations. Through her eyes, I see the world afresh. I dread the day when she tells me fairies and mermaids are not real. So I've just asked her, are unicorns real? No, she says a little doubtfully. Shortly afterwards, she goes into the other room where her dress-ups are kept. Don't come in, she instructs firmly. When I'm given the royal command to enter, there she is on all fours with a unicorn headdress on and a twinkle in her eye, demonstrating beyond a doubt that unicorns are real. She then does a little unicorn dance for me, up on her hooves. Bless that unicorn child. Yes, just a little bit more. Children are a great source of wonder. For a start, babies. The fact that a person grows inside another person and comes out screaming, breathing, and alive is beyond itself miraculous. From then on, wonder begins. The first taste of mango, the first experience of the sea, the first everything and anything new and bright. In Zen, this is called beginner's mind, a way of seeing things as if for the first time, knowing them to be extraordinary. And this is another little activity you could do if you wanted to at some time, a creative activity. So I made a list of wonderments, a list of recent wonderments. Container ships with lovely names, Dream Beauty and Destiny Ace. A long aisle of products for cats in the $2 shops. Who knew? And lucky cats. A Middle Eastern recipe involving a fish, which the chef kept swimming in grape juice in order to enhance its flavor before cooking. Rainbow lorikeets swooping by, a swift flash of miraculous color. Swamp hens at the lake, strutting around, elegant and awkward at the same time. This is classic. This is a true story, guys. The University of Bristol spent $35,000 finding a new name for one of their buildings. After a lengthy consultancy process and 200 suggestions, they narrowed it down to the top 5, took a vote, and kept the old name. 35 grand's worth, guys. Let us savor. Let us love our lives. Let us be astonished by them. Let us savor the small pleasures and give ourselves over to amazement and delight. So I've got one more thing to read you. And if you were here last week, it's something I read last week, but I forgot to bring the show and tell. So I'm going to read the poem again with the show and tell. And if you weren't here last week, you're about to have a poem and a show and tell. And then I'm going to ask for questions. And as I also did say last week, I firmly believe in questions, and then I give a long answer. And that is how we come together as a community and also get to 8:30. So this is from the book, On New Year's Eve, a Prayer. May I make way for the new, greeting every moment as a fresh beginning. May I be truly content with the abundance of life. May I let things be as they are, say yes please to everything and all of it, write heart's ease in cloud letters on the wide blue sky. May I trust in the wide magic of everyday existence. Imagine positive outcomes instead of bothering everything to death. May I encourage myself at all times. May I remember to live creatively, luxuriating in the simple, the quiet, and the miraculously ordinary. May I connect, may I help others when I have authentic energy for it, and rest when I don't. May I remember that I am a part of something much larger than myself, and act accordingly. May the politicians forego their own greed for power and money for the sake of all beings, for the sake of the broken world. Can there please be a section in the newspaper called poetry instead of one called property? I would also like some green velvet slippers with roses on. Namaste. Thank you. Amen. And as I mentioned, subsequently, a beautiful woman called Diane Niati, can't see myself there, but anyway, these are the slippers that she made me. Can you see them? Yes, hope you can. Hope you can see the slippers. Someone tell me if you can, because I'm holding them up and I have no idea if you can see them. Yes, good. Very good. They're beautiful. They're velvet. I wish you were here. You could tuck your little foot into them. So, yeah, here's to creativity and to all those things that I just told you. So let's see if there's a question or two from the floor about your practice, about anything in the whole world. Kathy, were you namaste? No. Oh, never mind. So
Can I ask a question?
please, yes.
I just want to start from saying that I admire your ability to rhyme the words while you speak. Yes, this is the first thing. And I just want to ask, how do you develop the feeling that like you deserve to be treated kindly, or like you deserve to be cared by other people? Because this is the second hardest thing that come after forgiving myself, I think. Because for a lot of years, my mental state is like not very good, and then I think I blame myself a lot on that. And then I also feel like I have a lot of years, like if I will have a feeling like maybe I can do better. I know it, I know I try my best, but it's like I just cannot really, like, I don't know. I just can't. It's hard. Yes. Just want to ask some advice. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. You're a very honest person, and my heart goes to you and with you and for you. I don't know the exactitude of your circumstances, but I certainly know what it is to feel like that. I feel like that too. I've had a lot of trauma in my early life, and I've lived a whole life of basically juggling a lot of really difficult feelings and a lot of shame, like shame would be one of them, and not, that's one that's big, but a feeling of unworthiness or finding it like very hard to really have loving kindness. And we can trudge on, we can cope, we can do our best, but if there are really, really painful feelings, what I'm trying to say is it's not that easy. And we're all on the spectrum of something. And they do say, if everyone had their troubles written on their forehead, this is a Russian proverb, you would never swap. Like you or I or any other person thinks, like, what's happened to me is pretty damn horrible, and the way I'm feeling is pretty damn difficult. And that on one hand is true, and yet you're definitely not alone. Like, everyone comes into this world, and even in like nice normal families, people die. Dad has a heart attack, things go badly wrong. You live in the Ukraine, in the Gaza Strip, life will be difficult. You mightn't have had your turn yet, but at some point you will face what the Buddha was telling us about. There is struggle and there is suffering, and we've only got this, what the Buddha called this 10, I think he said the 10-foot fathom body or something. Like, here we are in this bag of skin with these feelings and these emotions, and we have to deal with them. And so having a spiritual path to me is like key to read the Dharma and listen to the Dharma and really be uplifted by beautiful spiritual teachings. Some of us, I'm not saying you necessarily, but I definitely know myself, I need professional help. Like, I've been to a lot of counselors and a lot of psychiatrists and a lot of, over the years, because I've needed that help. Like, listening to what the Buddha said is one thing, but often if we have depression or if we have trauma or if we've had abuse or, you know, really, really difficult situation, we might need some professional help with that. We might even need medication, I don't know, but like, I wouldn't be too sniffy about going, oh, no, I don't need that. We possibly may need some help in whatever shape or form. And sometimes it's just a kind friend. It's just having some people in your life that you can really, really talk to deeply and properly about what's going on. And then there's all the creative stuff, which is like just journaling every day. I'm going to write down 10 good things that happened today, or 10 things I actually like about myself. And you might find that really hard. You might go, yep, by finding that really hard. Well, what that sort of thing of before, we have to be our own physician, and we have to be our own healer. And like, too much information coming up here, but about 12 years ago, when my second marriage ended very suddenly and very painfully, and I quickly uprooted my life from New Zealand, where I'd been living, back to Perth, I had like a really bad patch, like really bad. And I had to be in hospital for a while, and I was heavily medicated and suicidal, and it wasn't pretty. And no matter that I'd had 30 years of the Dharma and meditation and helping cook for retreats and I had a really severe patch of like a bad breakdown, basically. And I, in the end, figured out, like, I got a lot of help. And then when I came out of hospital, I could, you know, with the help of a psychiatrist, came off all the medication. But so that's why it's my real specialty area of, how do I stay well? How do I stay happy and well, given that not only myself, but most of my family members, although they're bright and intelligent and creative and high-achieving architects and stuff, would have some amount of mental illness or addiction. And so some of it is possibly genetic, right? So then you have to go, this is my life, this is how it is, and what can I find that's going to make me feel healthy and strong? And like, you are young and I am old, but we're both exactly on the same path. So every day we get up and we face the fact that we are not the happiest, most cheerful, most well-adjusted person on the planet. And in fact, some days we're completely nutty, and we just have to work out what it is that we can do. And it might be going for a walk. It might be shutting the door and watching The Big Bang Theory. It might be cooking yourself a proper dinner. It might be going to therapy. It might be having a sit. It might be drawing a picture. Because I guess what I'm trying to say is that what I did realize that in the end was, no one, like, there's a lot of help out there, but basically I had to put myself back together. Like, that was it. That was what I had to do. I had to figure out, how are you going to put yourself back together, and what are your wellness tools? And I mean, I have to say, I feel like a poster girl for mental health, because I've proved, not that I had to prove it to anyone, but that you can come through that and be okay and be strong and be healthy and be well, and still have bad days and still have sometimes where you feel like things are really, really hard, but you use the Dharma and you use the skills that you've been given. I'll just give you another personal example, hopefully not too much information. But my father, who did commit suicide when I was 9 or 10, he was a very well-known figure in New Zealand. He was a typographer, and he mixed with all the painters and poets and artists and writers. He's quite well known. And my niece, sorry, this is long, is an actor, and she made some years ago, she made a stage show about him, like a performance theatre thing with music and interviews about him. And it's called I'm a Dark River. It was about the grandfather she didn't know, which is my father, and blah, blah, blah. And she recently made a film about it, right? So the film was just shown at the Auckland Film Festival. I wasn't able to be there, but there was a piece in it, which was me being interviewed some years ago for this thing. It was a piece of writing I'd done about my father. Because I couldn't be at the film, she sent me a little video. It was a little video of me, of her walking through sort of an abandoned house, the actress sort of walking through, speaking the words that I had said. And it's a piece that I wrote to my father called I Sing You to Life, Bob Lowry. And it's just about me and my father. And then it comes to this one line, right? I will love you as a child does, even though you nearly killed me with your drunk driving, right? And this is a thing that happened in my life. I went away for the weekend with my father. We were coming home. He was drunk. We had an accident. He fell out of the car at the top of a cliffy thing. I went over the car. No, I went over the cliff in the car. Little kid. It was like, I can remember this. It was like being in a washing machine. And then I heard someone calling out, get the kid out, the car's on fire. And then we went to the hospital, and the nurse said, or the matron said, we went to the hospital in a very fancy car. I remember that. I had this scar on my lip. That was really the only damage. And the matron said to my father, this child is covered in beer. And my father lied and said, oh, it's milk. I remember that. It's milk. What a lot of bunkum. Anyway, my poor parents, they were quite poor, and my grandparents had bought this car. It was a complete write-off. The next day, my parents went to see the car, and I don't know how old I was perhaps 5, but I said, can you bring my dolly home? What do they come home with? A little plastic doll's shoe. Now, if that's not the saddest little tale, and the thing was, the reason I'm telling you this, it blew me down. Just for a couple of hours, it completely blew me down into the trauma of being a kid whose parents were neglectful alcoholics and who didn't get well looked after and who didn't have a safe environment. Like, I felt angry and I felt sad and I felt pathetic and I felt shame and I felt neglected and I felt like, oh God. And I also felt like, I'm 71, I've had a lot of therapy, I thought I was over this. But it was fine, Gloria. It was just feelings. And I rang my son, who's a lovely 44-year-old man. I just said, can we just have a bit of a talk, feeling a bit, saw something out of Tessa's film, feeling a bit low. And I rang another friend and she talked me through. And I just went for a walk and made my dinner and said kind, encouraging things to myself, like, you are a good person. You have survived all that. You are resilient. They weren't bad people. I got a lot of love from that family. I was given an education. I was taught to read books and appreciate poetry. Although my family are, as I said, like a troubled crew, they're very creative, wonderful people, and it's my karma to have been born into that family. So I do have the skills, like we do have the skills to go, yep, that was tough. And we've all got our own version of tough. You've got your version, and everyone on the screen has got their version of what is tough and what is hard, and might be health issues, it might be your partner's got cancer, it might be your kids going off the rails with a drug alcohol problem, but we've all got our version of tough, and then we give ourselves, that's why loving kindness to ourselves and asking for help when we need it. And like, I don't know you personally, but you are very worthy. You're a beautiful, wonderful person. We are all worthy. We all have bodhicitta. We all have the essence of goodness in us, and we are all worthy of our lives, and we are all, what do they say, much better and more beautiful than we think we are. And I just encourage you to find your own way of flourishing and affirming yourself, and not letting yourself, not believing all the bad shit, to put it very crudely. Sorry to put it in such a crude way, but like to just really, when you feel yourself feeling the feelings of shame, you can just put your hand there and say a kind thing to yourself, and just really be your own best friend and your own guide to happiness, because like every other person, you deserve that. And thank you for listening to my long, somewhat sad story, but yeah.
I want to say, like, thank you for
I
sharing that.
share that with you to encourage you.
Because my father is also alcoholic, so I think, yes, so. And I struggle with suicidal ideations for over 10 years, and sometimes it's really hard. But I think listening to people like you share your story means a lot to me. I mean it. Yes, so
You're
thank you.
not alone. You're not alone. And sorry to land someone in it, but I just wondered if Gita had anything to say, just because you are a long, long time Buddhist and a long, long time lovely person, but also a psychiatrist. But I just I know that you've talked to Gloria before, but as we're talking, is there anything you feel you'd like to offer up, or?
No, not really. I've just been engrossed listening to these life stories. Yeah, just admiring how people have come through different things. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think sharing it is important, like just to hear each other's stories and know that we're not alone, and know that we can just encourage each other in that way. What is it? Forgotten who said it now, but the world isn't, I think it was the writer Muriel Rikers said, the world is not made of atoms, it's made of stories. But in community, in sharing our lives, and whether it's in music or song or painting or in whatever way, sharing the journey is like, it keeps us going, I feel. And you're not alone. You're not just you with your troubles. You're part of something, you know. For myself, this is going to sound really mad, but sometimes when I just really need, because we block our feelings, they're painful, we don't want to feel them, but that doesn't help. But just to play music that's going to really make you feel sad, I find that really useful, like to actually tune into some really sad music, to a sad love song, or Rod Stewart's Handbags and Glad Rags, or there's various songs. If I put that song on, I have a really good cry. I'm not an easy crier, but sometimes just to really allow yourself to go, right now, I need to feel really, really sad. Because how often do we allow ourselves the luxury of those feelings? Yeah, I think that helps, sharing the fact that we're not alone. Wonder if anyone else has anything that they'd like to share on that topic that might be useful to Gloria at this point. Or another question, whatever. Oh, I'm looking at the clock. We're nearly at time, aren't we? What do you think, Marlene? Should we go for another question, or what would you like to do now?
It looks as though there are no questions. I'd be quite happy to close. Did you want to do a blessing of some sort?
Yeah. And there's something there in the chat. So many things to share, but another day. And just to finish with Gloria, our hearts are all with you. You're going through a lot, and I think you're brave to share that with us. And we love you. Yeah, I did write down a little blessing. Now I'm just going to find it. Oh yeah, two things. Wait. Okay, so this was just something I heard in a Dharma talk this week that I thought was absolutely beautiful. It was a talk on Dharma seed by Greg Schaaf, who happens to be at the Forest Refuge, where our friend who's often sitting with us, Sky, is over there. And she said, I'm going to talk to my friend Greg today. And I'm going, I just listened to one of his talks. And I wrote down this line, which I think is just fantastic. He said, samsara cannot be fixed. Just live as well as you can in the reality of it. Samsara cannot be fixed. Just live as well as you can in the reality of it. And he quoted Joseph Goldstein saying, acknowledge the inevitability of unwanted feelings. So I think that's profound. not like I'm a bad person, I shouldn't be having these feelings, but to acknowledge the inevitability. Kathy?
Yeah, it just occurred to me, Suzuki said, when you feel really discouraged, encourage others.
Yes. Yes.
And I think that's also a great gift that he gave us. Yeah.
Yeah, true.
And that's what you're doing tonight. So there you go.
No, that's so good. That's so timely. That's just perfect. And yeah, I remember listening to another talk where the person was really, really low with depression, and the teacher was quite brutal. He said, get off your bum, go to an old folks home and feed someone their dinner, someone that can no longer hold their spoon. Like, stop looking up your own, sorry. But it's great that, just to finish, that you mentioned Suzuki Roshi, because today when I was going for a walk, there were 2 Suzuki Roshi quotes that I was going to share. So to finish before the blessing, one of them was all these people on retreat, apparently, and they were sitting there, and he said, well, like they were deep in the retreat, and he said, the troubles you are having right now, and then he paused, and they all thought he was going to say, will be gone by the time you go home because you've had such a good retreat. And he continued the sentence by saying, the troubles you are having right now, long pause, will be with you till the rest of your life. But it made me laugh. So that was a good one. And his other one is shine one corner, which really relates to that. Like, what can you do? Well, shine one corner. You can take some flowers to your neighbor. So here is your blessing to finish the evening. May you live with presence. May you live with honesty. May you live with inner quiet. May you live with appreciation and kindness.